banana bread. Banana bread is one of my most favorite things to make. It's one of the only things that I really can make, but I'm not complaining. Banana bread is delicious. There are a few components that I've laid out there, two right here that aren't present, but for now we've got the flour, the baking powder, the baking soda, the salt, the sugar, and the shortening. The shortening I'm using here today is Crisco, that is vegetable oil. Really there are only two parts to making banana bread. It's mixing and then baking. It really is that easy. With the mixing, there are two parts to that as well. There's the dry stuff and then the wet stuff, and that includes the shortening. It is also eggs and bananas. We're going to start with the dry components first. You put the flour in, then the baking powder, the baking soda, the salt, and then the sugar, and you mix that all up. So we're starting with the mixing now. This is going to be the dry ingredients only. So we are beginning with 1 3/4 cup of flour into my mixing bowl, just like this. Just pour it in there. Next is 1 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. This goes in as well. We'll do all of the mixing of these things once they're all in. Then we move on to our baking soda. So yes, put the baking soda in there. That was a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. That's nice and easy. Next step here is salt, and that is 3/4 a teaspoon. And we are just going to put that in there as well. So we are just going to mix it around, just so that it's nice and homogeneous. So the next step is sort of the wet ingredients. We're going to start with the shortening here. This is Crisco, and I just sort of want to, we're not going to mess around with Crisco too much on its own. Just want to sort of get it in there a bit, and then come to our next ingredient. That was, by the way, 1/3 cup of Crisco. Next is 2 eggs. Crack on a nice flat surface. So that is 1 egg. And get our second one here. Nice and even, theoretically. Hopefully no shells in there. And then just sort of introduce the yolks, the eggs, to the rest of the mixture. I just right now want to break the yolks and, like I said, introduce the Crisco and the egg to the mixture. Nice like that. It'll clump up on the spatula there, but just sort of mix that around. Don't want to spend too much time on that. We're going to introduce our final ingredient. This is gross, so I don't want this to be seen by the public eye for more than is necessary, but these are my bananas. So yes, introduce the bananas now. Basically what I'm doing is I'm going around the edges and sort of bringing the bottom to the top, basically. So you want to get down in the bottom and then just sort of churn it up so that all of the flour, you know, and whatnot, is exposed to the moisture of the banana and of the egg. So you can sort of see as I'm doing this that there is a lot of dry still, like even on what is now becoming the batter. Even at the bottom, there's definitely dry components down there. So you really want to be thorough in your mixing. And so you can see as I mix it, it becomes more and more of a batter and less of dry with some gross bananas and chunks of Crisco. It does take a while. So on the surface here, it may look like this is all completely, everything is immersed within each component, but there's certainly something at the bottom. See, there's still more dry that needs to become part of the batter here, and there are several chunks of Crisco, so you really just want to be thorough in this part. Okay. Alright, so we have mixed all of our ingredients up. It's a nice viscous batter, if you will. Everything, no clumps anymore. It's time to actually begin the process of baking. I'm using a 9 by 5 by 3 bread pan. What we want to do before we pour the mixture in is get some pan relief, as those in the industry call it. This is cooking spray. Extra virgin olive oil spray is the one I'm using today. You just want to sort of at a distance spray the bottom of the pan and then go to the walls. I've actually already done it, but for demonstration purposes, I will do it a nice spritz. So nice and at a distance, just like that. And then on the sides, just sort of angle it far enough away. So we are now going to take our batter and pour it in to the bread pan. So we're going to pour this in here, and it will take a while because of the viscosity. So it's always good to just sort of, with your spatula, shoot it in there. And it will take some time because it's certainly slow moving, but once it gets there, it does get a little easier, and it starts to spread out in the bread pan. And then once you've got most of the pour in, you just want to sort of scrape any excess, any that did not want to leave the bowl in the first place, till you get everything in there. So I've pulled my sleeves up for the purposes of this next step. That's putting this in the oven. First, we've got all the batter out of the mixing bowl and into the bread pan. So you just want to sort of sift it around a little bit. I've already pre-done this, but it is good to just sort of spread everything around a little bit. But it's pretty good right now. So I'm going to put my oven mitts on because I value my skin, don't want to burn myself at all. I have preheated this oven. It is at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Open this oven. Be very careful when you do this. I'm going to take the bread and I'm going to put this on the middle rack here. And make sure it's nice and sort of centered in the oven there. I'm going to close it up. And the timer. We want to time this for 55 minutes. So that's what I'm going to do now. 40, 55. And there it goes, that's the timer. So in about an hour, we should, in theory, have a very delicious loaf of banana bread. We'll see you then. And so this is the finished product that takes about 2 hours to make. Could have probably pulled it out of the oven sooner, actually. It's a little brown, but I think if we cut this open, it'll be very, very nice. And this is the end, so it's the least appetizing part, but that's always my favorite to eat. We're just gonna sort of like that. And as we can see, it's just, I mean, it's yellow bread. You can see a bit of banana in there, if there's nuts, obviously. But yeah, I'm gonna eat this and hope that if you follow my recipe, you will really enjoy it because it is quite delicious.